Okay, I'm here to do a little study on the mtDNA. I kind of made a mistake on the my own mtDNA from my family would be my mother's side of the family. So it happens to be an H3G or something. I thought that it was M, but I don't know what I was thinking. It was an M. It's actually an N, and it's HG3. And it turns out, hey, Javier, how you doing? It's late and it's early, both. You're correct. I just happened to be up all night, not for any bad reason, but it's just that I work during the day. I work during the night, and I sleep during the day. And I was trying to trying to remember what my mtDNA was. I remembered wrong. I thought it was an M. It's actually an N, and it's specifically H3G or something like that. So let me try to see if I can do this here. Do a screen share and get over here. Okay, this is a mtDNA chart, pie chart. So since I'm the H, I would be this blue right here. So this blue seems to have spread throughout Europe. And it seems to be Semitic. Well, it is Semitic because it's N. And there is a K too. There's a K as well. And the K, I don't see it here. But the K is, oh, there it is. The K is Semitic, is Jewish, and also this H seems to be Jewish, but maybe it's Ruth or something. As far as I know, could be like the mtDNA of Ruth. But anyways, the K seems to be, what is it? Rebecca? Somebody? Anyway, there's Isaac's wife Rebecca, and then there was actually, I don't know. That would be kind of confusing because it's a couple different people, I guess. But anyways, because you have the wives of Jacob, which are the daughters of Laban, and you have Rebecca, who's the wife of Isaac and Rebecca, and Jacob and Rachel and Leah, if I'm not mistaken. So those are, anyways, the H seems to be prevalent in the Jewish DNA as well as the K. And I can show that somewhere. Okay, here's an example where the H is up here and the K is up here. You can see how they kind of spread throughout Europe and influenced the Japhethites. The Japhethites, of course, are European, went to Europe according to the Bible, and they were influenced by the lost tribes of Israel, apparently, and probably other Semitic people too. But that's basically what Europeans are in Western Europe. They are mostly a mixture of Semitic and Japhethite, which would be the descendants of Japheth and the descendants of Shem. So it would be Semitic, which is not necessarily Jewish, and it would be the descendants of the the Japhethites that went to Europe. So again, here's the H and the K is up here, so the K is right here. And another example, H is here, K is here. Now, if I can zero in on the information that I was looking at, okay, here we go. It's right here. Jewish mtDNA. See, we can read. Ashkenazi Jewish. Well, this is Ashkenazi Jewish. Prevalent Ashkenazi are 32% K and 21% H. I guess I'm a little bit dyslexic. And then there's N and J1. But what are we talking about? mtDNA? Anyways, I guess there's a J as well. Anyway, Moroccan Jews. Four Jewish mothers, mtDNA evidence for a genetic bottleneck in early history of Ashkenazi Jewish population. Okay. 32% K, 21% H, and then we got the N and the J, and others. So I guess it'd be the four. It'd be the K, the H, and the N, and the J. K, H, and J. So it's basically four Jewish mothers among the Ashkenazis. And of course, they were spread out through Europe, through the Europeans, which were the Japhethites, so that only the Western Europeans are more influenced by the Semitic populations. Anyways, I should do this on my own sometime. But anyways, as a lot of people already know, you got the L1, L2, L3 are the descendants of Ham. Now, when the Bible talks about Egypt, the Bible calls Egypt Mitzrayim. Now, apparently, from what I remember, is that Mitzrayim went to Egypt along with his mother, who was the progenitors of the Egyptians, and his mother's name was Egyptus, apparently, according to one or more sources, I guess. So Egyptus would be then a daughter of Ham, I guess. I'm not sure. That's kind of complicated. But anyways, apparently the progenitors of the Hamites, which are L1, L2, and L3, they all went to Africa. This is what I'm trying to say. And there really isn't any L1s, L2s, and L3s outside of Africa. So apparently, if there are, say, three daughters of Ham or something, or whoever went to Africa, then those are the three daughters right there, L1, L2, and L3. They appear to be related. So that would be this purple color, this yellow color, and this whatever color this is, beige or whatever it is. And if you notice again, the same thing with the Y chromosome, the majority of the population seems to be sort of centralized in this entire area here, with the exception of the African population, the African descendants of L1, 2, and 3, because I don't really see them outside of Africa. I mean, I can't really tell. Maybe I have to look at another map, but they're mostly went to Africa and stayed there. Of course, in the Y chromosome, you have the C and the D that went to Japan and Tibet and didn't even go to Africa. And they're descendants of Ham directly. So apparently, according to the Y chromosome, Ham had, at least registering, has A, B, C, D, and E, which is 5 sons registering in today's DNA. And like I said, the A and the B are in Africa, and the E is in Africa. That's 3. And the other 2 sons went the opposite way. They went to Asia. And the C is found in Mongolia and the Americas. And the D is found in Tibet and Japan. DNA doesn't lie, especially the Y chromosome. And of course, the mtDNA wouldn't lie either. It's just that I haven't figured it out very well. Let me just double check here. See if I can figure out what's going on. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the mtDNA, be a DNA test here. And yeah. So I'm trying to understand this mtDNA, which would be the line of the mother to daughter line going all the way back. It's pretty amazing that there's an mtDNA line. That would be the mitochondrial DNA, which is not the nuclear DNA. It's the DNA of the mitochondria that reproduces the mitochondria, and it's passed down. Generally, it's passed down from mother to daughter. It can be passed down other ways, but it's almost always mother to daughter passed down. So, and that would be the mitochondria that makes ATP, the molecule, the energy molecule ATP, which gives us energy. It has its own DNA, and it keeps a record of all the mother to daughter generations. So we got the H in Europe. We got, let me see what we got. Yeah, this is N. Everything, let me explain. This is really complicated to understand. This L1, 2, and 3 would be the descendants of Ham, or Africans, basically. And the M, which would be all of these, everything M and everything after M up to Q would be, I'm guessing, the descendants of the Japhethites, which we'll go ahead and check that now. D is highly represented, the blues over here, so that'd be Asian, basically. And all the way into South America, the blues are represented. So, yeah, the M does seem to be, and we got the C, which is this dark purple color. It's also Asian, or highly represented in Asia. and the Americas as well. So that holds true. So yeah, the M does seem to be the descendants of Japheth, the Japhethites. It does seem to be the Japhethites, or the Japhethite women. And they've got the C would be the light blue. This light blue here in Asia, and that's about all I see right now. And then there's a G, which could be some of this stuff here, and the E is Asia too. Of course, this is not the Y chromosome. This is the mtDNA, which is after the M. So that's kind of confusing, but I'm starting to understand it. So M and everything after M up to Q is the Japhethite descendants. So we got Q as well, which is, where's the Q? Where would be the Q? It's kind of this color here, I'm thinking. So it'd be, what is that? Papua New Guinea or someplace? It's just above Australia. It's a high representative of the Q. Then starts the N. Everything from N and onward would be the mothers of the descendants of Israel. I mean, not Israel, but the Semitics. Can't confuse that. So there's, generally speaking, the Semitics would be N, and then there would be somehow there's the descendants of Israel would be H. What was it? H, K. Where's K? Okay, is over here. H, K, and a couple of others. I think it was J, which would be here, J. And what was the other one? The other one was, okay, the other one was N1B. So we have an N1B, so I have to find, oh, it's N. Okay, so it'd be N anyways, because it's N and everything after N, so it'd be N1B, which is basically Semitic. So yeah, here we have the N1 over here. We have the H over here and the K over here. So it's K, H, N, and J is over here. So these are all Semitic. They're all under N, as you can see here. Because see, this is how it's lined up as I was trying to explain, but it's hard to see from the other chart. This is L1, L2, L3 would be the descendants of Ham, and the descendants of Japheth would be M, as we have noted that they're all in Asia. And the N would be the Semitic descendants. So these are all Semitic descendants here, which would be, and the Jewish descendants, the mothers of the Jewish descendants would be, in first place would be K, and then it would be H, and then it's N1, and then it's J. But these are all, those would all be mothers of the descendants of Israel. So apparently, according to what we were reading prior. So that means that, at least by way of my mother and my father, I am Semitic, or even of Israel. But of course, everything else in between is not necessarily from Israel. It's a mixture. Of course, Europeans are a mixture of Semitic and Japhethite, as I've already stated, because I don't want to get into specifics, but the body style of Europeans and Asians are a little bit similar, you know. So, and the only thing that's different would be that we don't all in the us Europeans don't all have jet black hair because they were called in ancient history, ancient times, they were called the blackheads. So they had jet black hair, usually, straight hair. And Europeans are more influenced by the Semitic, so that's where the red hair and the blondes come from, is from the Semitic introduction into the European race, which would be Japhethite, descendants of Japheth. So, contrary to popular opinion, King David was ruddy and had beautiful eyes. He was a redhead, and he had maybe blue eyes, and that's where us Europeans get the red hair from and the blue eyes. Either that or wherever David got his red hair and blue eyes from, which of course Esau had red hair too. So maybe maybe it was prior to maybe the red hair was prior to Israel. In other words, it was Semitic and not necessarily from Israel or Jacob. So it's kind of interesting for everything to fit together as far as the evidence of the heredity that we have, and it's not that complicated. You have Egyptians and Africans in Africa. Of course, Egyptians are a big mixture here and over here, often mixed with, this would be A, that would be Semitic. And this green over here, the light green, that would be T, that's Semitic. And you even probably have K. I'm looking for K. K is a little bit in here too, mixed in. You can see it in here. And hold on a second. Yeah, so it's really not real complicated because all of these everything after M to Q is represented here in Asia. So that's pretty clear that the M are the descendants of Japheth by way of the wife of Japheth, or Japheth, or however it's pronounced. And everything from N onward would be Semitic. And the Israeli or descendants of Israel would be from the four mothers of the Jewish people, which would be what was the first one? It was K. The first one's K, H, N, which is N right here, I guess. Or is there another N? Trying to figure that out. And it would be the J, which would be this J over here. But this other N, let me see. Because we have N, oh yeah, we got N and we got N1. And the N1 would be the N that is in the Jewish population, or the descendants of Israel population, would be the N1. So yeah, that's right. And that's a 7%. So that's interesting, anyways. So one of these mothers would probably be, which I'm guessing would be the H, would probably be Ruth. I'm guessing, and but or no, it could be. See, I don't know the difference between. I know that that Isaac's wife was a relative of his, and I'm trying to think. And I think Laban is Laban a relative too. I think Laban was a relative too. But anyways, it's hard to tell. Anyway, so it'd be kind of speculation to at this point to determine who is who. But Ruth is in here somewhere. Ruth is probably one of these four people would be H, K, N1, and K, or K, J, H, N1. Probably one of those four people. And I'm guessing probably not N1. But it's hard to say. So, um, so this is pretty good. It's a pretty good study. Because I was kind of confused. I was thinking that I was an M or something, but I'm not an M. I'm an N in the mtDNA. So yeah, the mtDNA seems to be spread out quite a bit as far as the representation in Europe and Asia. It's spread out a little bit more than spread out from Egypt all the way over to. But even so, you still have the isolation of the blues over here, which would be the H's, separated from the rest of the Asia over here, which are these colors here. And but we got Y. This Y here would be Semitic. Let me see what else we got. The R, the B, whatever this B is, that's Semitic. So this color here, this red color would be Semitic all the way to America. And over here in this is New Zealand. This would be Pacific Island somewhere. And the this light green is the M. That's the Japhethites. And the A. Oh, A is another one, which would be Semitic, and it's all the way up in Europe. It'd be this bright color here. And it's mostly like in the Russian area or whatever, and the Middle East. So yeah, for the exceptions, as far as in Asia, I can see this color here, this Y. I can see red is this color here. And I think we got this darker green would be F, I guess. F, that's Semitic. So we get the darker greens here. That's Semitic. And the bright yellow is Semitic. And this P is Semitic. So the Australian Aboriginals would be a mixture of Semitic, I guess, and this purple color. What's this purple color? Would be the N. Oh, that's almost entirely Semitic. So the Aboriginals are a mixture of, I'm thinking, it's a mixture of, I have to go check the Y chromosome chart again. But this looks pretty highly represented as Semitic here, even though the Aboriginals have DNA from India too, which is supposed to be from Africa, but it might be from somewhere else, or Dravidic or something. Let me see. Let me go ahead and try to find it while I'm at it, while I'm wasting time. Uh, okay. Let me see. This is a good chart here. Let me see if I can follow this chart. Okay, this chart shows, but yes, it is. So the Aboriginals are K. This is the Y chromosome. The K is actually K4. That could be descendant of Israel, or some facsimile. But the C4, which is over here, C2, C2, C3, C4 is a descendant of Ham, because they made it all the way to the Americas by way of C3, and you even have it here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a C3 here and there's a C3 here in northern part of South America. So the descendants of Ham made it to Australia, made it all the way over to the northern tip of South America and out into Pacific Islands too. So yeah, the Aboriginals then are a mixture probably of Semitic and descendants of Ham. And the H is over here. This H, they could be. There's a lot of there was a large Jewish population in India as well, you know. And of course, there's the Jewish population went as far as China. Now that would be interesting. I don't know if I've seen that over here, but there is a Jewish population in China. Well, there's Tibet. That would be, but that's the Y chromosome of Ham. And what's this? The O? Is that O? Or I guess that's O. It's not Q. So we have O. What's O is Japhethite. So we have K over here. And we have R. That's Japhethite. You got N1. That's Japhethite. This is the Y chromosome now. So as far as China, there is a Chinese. It might not be showing up here, but there is a Chinese population of Jews. They're Chinese Jews, and the Bible refers specifically to them, saying that Jews will come from as far as China back to Israel. And there is a Jewish population. They have you can recognize them because they have a little bit of curly hair. The hair is a little bit more. I mean, instead of being straight black hair, it's curly black hair, and they are do have a history of being a Jewish population. Yeah, I think it's over here, the edge of India. So I have the T over here. That's Japhethite. You got the CS. You got the O and the D. The D, of course, we know what the D is. And the C and the D and the F and the K. Anyways, on the edge of between India and China, there's a Jewish population. It might not be registering here, but there are, India is known to have a Jewish population anyway, because I think was it Thomas that went? I think it was Thomas that went to India by tradition, and like a lot of the Indian people are named Thomas, if for the male descendants. Of course, we noticed that in Africa you do have this green over here. This green is J. This is the Y chromosome. So you have J going into Africa, and this is where they found the Falashas who have this JY chromosome, and somehow it relates to descendant of Levi, and somehow a descendant of Levi is closely associated with Judah, so much so that it's almost the same, almost indistinguishable from Judah or the Jews, basically. And the I is closely associated with the J, as you can see right here, down here. The I and the J are stuck together because they're closely associated. So all these I's up in Europe, these Vikings over here, and the Anglo-Saxons, and you got I2s over here, I2A2, I2A1. These are Semitic too. And of course, up here, the Vikings. This is what I am. I'm an I1 M253. That's be the Vikings or the Anglo-Saxons, who then went to England, and that's how I got the IY chromosome. And in England, of course, you have either the R or the I, apparently, or the I2B. And the R, you got the R, whatever. Anyway, so that's Europe basically, and genetically they can't really tell the difference between, like, say, Germans, Northern Italians, and English and Irish are often very similar. So in some cases they can tell, but in my case, they really couldn't tell that I'm about 20% German. They kind of lumped it all together and said I'm 75% Irish. But they're still, they're working on it. They had other estimates, and they changed their estimates, and anyway, that's where it stands. Last time I looked at it, that's where where it stood. So we got the ends. The end would be Asian or Japhethite. The Q is Japhethite. The R is Japhethite. The D2 right here, this D2 is, of course, a Hamite. And there's D2s over here, and there's D2s over here in Japan. So these are Tibetans here. These are population in China. And this is the population. The northern Japanese, I guess, are descendants of Ham. And the other ones are Japhethites, the O2s and the O3s. So anyway, of course, this is what they try to say that they're trying to say that Adam started out over here in Africa instead of going from here to Africa. They think that everybody started out here, but if you, whenever you have a population in one location and they move to like other location, there's always stragglers that stay behind. So, and there's no stragglers left behind here in Africa of any of the other people in the world. There's basically the only thing in Africa is the A, which is here, the B, and the E's. You can see the A's, the B's, and the E's, and of course the R. The R1B would be an immigrant. The R1B got R1Bs up here and down here too. So the R1B is an immigrant from the Middle East, which is Japhethite. R is Japhethite. Q and R. Of course, this is Q, and this is R over here. Basically, probably very similar because they're close together. They even have parentheses out around each other. So the R's and the Q's are basically the same Y chromosome. And see, it seems to me like they're hiding the evidence, even though right here seems very clear that this A, B, C, D, and E is like grouped together here with the F at the end, and then the F starts out the Semites or the Semitic population be F, G, H, I, J, K, which are all male descendants of the Semitic population. And then there's the K, which would be the Japhethite. So yeah, it's a possibility that the K in the Jewish population is a Japhethite descendant. That's always a possibility because the other ones, I guess, are strictly or mostly Semite because the H and the J are Semitic, and well, there's the K, the N. Oh, the N is it'd be the N1. No, what am I thinking? I'm mixing up the DNA, the mtDNA. So yeah, I don't know what the other. As far as I know, is the I and the J are a Jewish population. I gotta double check that. So what I can do, double check this. Make sure nobody's listening to. Yeah, let me go ahead and look up Y. Y chromosome, Jewish. Okay, we've got the Y chromosomal Aaron, which we know about. I'll just go ahead and put chart here. And go to the images and see what we have. Y chromosome among the Jews. Here we go. This will work. Maybe. Oh, this is the what do you call it? Pinterest or whatever it is. I can actually get around this. Oh, where am I? Okay, here we go. This will work maybe. Okay, so the Y chromosome population among the Jews. We have I here. This is Semitic. J is Semitic. T, H, I, J, K. T is not Semitic. Q is not. G is Semitic. This is not. This is Japheth, and this is actually African. That's interesting. So the Jewish population does have a significant amount of African. This is the Y chromosome. I'm looking right at the evidence right here. So yeah, so the J is Semitic. The J is for probably Judah or some facsimile. And the I, of course, is Israel. That'd be the returning tribes of Israel, I guess. They came back to Judah. The T is Japhethite. Q is Japhethite. G is Semitic. The 7% G here, that's Semitic. It may or may not be descendant of Israel. Maybe it's not descendant, but it's Semitic. And we have the R1 is Japhethite. The R1b is Japhethite. The E is Hamite. So the Jewish population among the Jews, let's see, Dr. Nogueira found among the Portuguese Jews the following haplogroups. Okay, this is among the Portuguese, actually. Portuguese Jews. Apparently. And I guess they're Ashkenazi, or I don't know what it is. Anyway, something like that. And there's all kinds of charts to analyze. See, the Y chromosome is the male descendant. But anyways, let's look at another chart because there might be another chart. Let me go back. Oh, where'd I go? Oh, yeah. So what's this? This is Ashkenazi. Y DNA haplogroup frequency. So we got this here. And it's not getting bigger. This is mtDNA haplogroup, and it's showing K is a large amount. It's showing this color here, which is H. That's me. And so it's K. K and H. So K, a lot of K could be Semitic and not Japhethite because it looks to me like there's a big population of K in the Jewish people. This is the mtDNA, so this is the mtDNA. I'm confusing it with a Y because they really got to straighten this DNA out because it's so confusing. This is a K, this is the mtDNA, so this would be the N. K is actually N. So this is K, that's an N, that's Semitic. H is Semitic. Even the others are Semitic, which would be the N, and the whatever it was. Anyway, maybe it's right here. Yeah. Okay, the K, the H, and the N and the J. Yeah, the K, the H, the N, and the J, or the J and N. This is the mtDNA. So, anyways, that's that. Let me look at this this here. Let me try to fix this somehow. Oh, I can't do this. Anyway, back up. So, anyways, I pretty much know what it is, the Y chromosome. So, in the Y chromosome, we have J2, of J1, which is this, J2, which is this, and the E, as we saw before, which is this. So the E is actually Hamitic, and the G is the beginning of the Shemites, basically. So it's Semitic here, it's African here, and the rest are pretty much Japhethites, I think. So it's pretty consistent with the other chart that we're looking at. The N over here is Japhethite. The L is Japhethite. The R is Japhethite. And so on. Yeah, all these R's and stuff. Okay, so it's fairly consistent there. And the takeaway is that, okay, the K, I'm not looking at the K, Y chromosome. The K was the mtDNA, which was Semitic. And the K here would probably be Semitic too, but it's not represented here. It doesn't look like. But again, we have the I guess is this, the J1, the J2, and the E, and the R's, and the R1, the R1A, R1B, to be the Japhethites. So that's, yeah. So if you wanted to know whether or not you're an Israelite, descendant of Judah, or a descendant of Jacob, Israel, if you're a descendant of Israel, you would have to have J1, J2, and I, and I don't know if it's G, possibly G, but that might just be regular Semitic. But you can't claim to be descended from Jacob, an Israelite, as the Hebrew Israelites do, unless if you have an E, because E is not Semitic. and but they do represent. It is represented in the Jewish population because, of course, many people joined themselves to Israel, including the time of Solomon, the Queen of Sheba, probably Africans who are possibly. I mean, that's the only. I mean, that's an explanation of how the could have gotten into the population. Of course, it could have happened at any time. It could have happened when they went to Portugal and Spain or wherever, wherever they spread out to. But in order to be a descendant of Israel, you would have to be either J1, J2, or I, which is the European Semitic population. I mean, direct descendants of Israel, lost tribes of Israel, which is not highly represented here because the Israel spread out into Europe and the rest of Israel got lost in Europe. They're called the lost tribes because they got lost and never came back. And their DNA is still represented in Europe, Europeans today, myself included. Because I'm not an R. A lot of people are R, be the R1, R2, R1B, and R2. So it'd be this dark blue here, this color here, brown, and this color here, gray. So this is the European Japhethites. Remember, Japheth went to Europe, north. So this would represent the Japhethites' Y chromosome. And apparently the Q too, a Q as well. So the Q is Japhethite as well. So we got Q, these R's all the way to here. And where was the dark green though? Anyway, the L. I don't know if this is the dark green. But the L is Japhethite anyways. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of clear. The only Semitic population, the Semitic Y chromosome in the Jewish population is the J1, J2, and the I. And the others are not Semitic. Except for maybe, well, G is Semitic. But it might not be Israel. So, because the I is closely associated with the J, it's very similar, or somewhat similar anyway. And it represents the lost tribes of Israel in Europe, or the Semitic population in Europe, which is probably Israel that spread out into Europe. Because there is a history of the lost tribes of Israel in Europe. There is a history of that. It's hard to find, but it does exist because I've seen it before. So I guess that's it. This is the only green, this L, but anyways, it doesn't make any difference. It's the descendant of Japheth. So the population in the Ashkenazi population is E, which is a Hamite. J1, J2, R1, this is Japhethite. And the I, where's the I? Oh, this is the I. And the G. So the G and the H is missing. G, H, I, J is Semitic. And of course, this is African. And these are Japhethite in the Jewish population. because the only Semitic ones are the G, H, I, J, and the G might be just plain Semitic. So if you want to claim to be a descendant of Israel, you would have to have I1 or J1 and J2. Otherwise, you can't claim to be an Israelite. So that's pretty much that. So I was studying mtDNA, but I got off on a rabbit trail. Not that it makes all the difference in the world. No more comments at this point. But yeah, this is the mtDNA chart. Let's look at the white DNA chart to see what the concentration of people are in the Middle East. Well, it's the mtDNA population of the vast majority of people is kind of spread out in Europe and Northern Africa and Asia, pretty much. But the Y chromosome is a little bit different. Let me go ahead and waste some more time. Okay, let me go back to this other chart. This chart's not so good. World's population. Anyways, let's go to this chart just real quick. And this is the this is the Y chromosome. Y chromosome chart. So what my point was is that the diversity of population is in this area, which is this Israel-Iraq region. That's where most of the people would have come from. And when they spread out from the Tower of Babel, they went this way, this way, this way, this way, and all the way this way to the Americas, and this way to Mongolia. So as stated before, the Cs, which is these Mongolians, did not go to Africa. They're not even represented in Africa. So they didn't even go to Africa. Even though the descendants of Ham, one of the sons of Ham, went east instead of to Africa. Same is true with the D, which is this funny looking yellow right here, this green yellow. There's a green yellow here and there's a green yellow here. This is Tibet and this is Japan. So these Y chromosomes here are representative of one of the descendants of Ham, who was probably a brother of the C and brother of the E, the A, and the B. This R here, the R, this is an immigrant here into Africa. He went, because it's the same R, it's actually the same R, except they have it split. They got R, R1, A, R1B, like that. So this white and this red and the yellow is really, and this R here is really all the same thing, basically. They're all descendants of Japheth. So the Europeans are the Japhethites, with the exception of the I in Europe. See this I? This is me in Europe, in Scandinavia, this light color over here, this light color purple, or whatever it is. The dark color purple is an N, which is Japhethite. It'll be the same over here. Not to be confused with this color purple, because this color purple is a Q. So it's not this color. Q is not the same thing as I, but this I is, you can see better the populations in Europe, the descendants of Israel in Europe, because it is this purple color, this I, this purple color in Europe, right here, all throughout here, these are the traces of the descendants of Israel in Europe, the European population, which otherwise would be all Japhethite. It would be all Japhethite if it wasn't for the lost tribes of Israel, which and the other Semites, because we have G. Where is G? We can find G. E, F, G. Oh, so it'd be this color here, G. Well, yeah, there would be there's an autosomal DNA too. So when the lost tribes of Israel went north of Israel, of course, this is regular Semitic, probably. Maybe the Sumerians, probably Sumerians. Abraham was a Sumerian, of course. So this could be that. But then there's the autosomal DNA of the population, the general population of the Israelites that went north and got lost, the lost tribes of Israel. So they would have influenced the European population, the autosomal. And of course, the Hamites that went this way and this way were influenced by the Japhethite autosomal DNA. That's why they're not dark-skinned, because they were influenced by the general population in this area. And with the exception of here, let's just look at this for a minute. The Aboriginals are C. It doesn't distinguish which kind of C. It's a C3 or 4 or something like that. C4 maybe. In Australia, in these populations here, or C3 or something. And we have K, which is probably a Japhethite descendant. So this dark green is in the area of the Japhethite community, as well as the N and the R's. Of course, the yellows are R too. You know, they try to confuse people. The yellow is Japhethite too, and the Q, of course, is Japhethite. And this color here, this blue color, is O, and that's Japhethite. And of course, the H. These Dravidians here, this black color here, that's Semitic. I think it has to be the Dravidian population. And then there's the gray, which would be yeah, so the H, I, J, and K are probably Jewish. The J, you got the J over here, some K over here, K is here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So it's hard to say what K is. K could be Japhethite too, for that matter. Which, not to be confused with the mtDNA K, because the mtDNA K is Semitic, not Japhethite. See, this system here is so confusing because they named everything after the fact. They even changed some of these things. This Q over here used to be R, which is basically R anyways. So, so they They're making it very confusing for people to understand who's who, basically, because they don't want to know that we did not come from this area in Africa or this area or any area in Africa, because we're not represented here. Because whenever you have a population that leaves a place, there's always stragglers. Here's the stragglers right here. You have people that went this way, people from here went this way, and this way, and this way, and this way, and this way. We didn't originate from Africa. This Y chromosomal chart right here disproves the out of Africa theory. It's blatant, in your face evidence that we did not all come from Africa. And of course, Africans don't have Neanderthal DNA, autosomal DNA anyways. And the Neanderthal Y chromosome is extinct as well. Doesn't exist in the human population today. The Y chromosome of Neanderthals, it's non-existent today. And I'd like to get a copy of it because I'd like to compare it with our DNA, our Y chromosome. Compare it with the Neanderthal Y chromosome. So if anybody knows where I can get a copy of that Neanderthal Y chromosomal DNA, I would like to look at that. So the evidence is very clear that we all originated from the cradle of civilization over here in Turkey and such. Of course, Israel is over this way, but Babylon is over this way. And seems clear to me that this is where the region where everyone came from, and people spread out from there after the Tower of Babel, which I believe also the South America broke apart from Africa 100 years after the global flood. It was before human population started to spread out. So 100 years after the global flood, when it had the breakup of the continents, and it probably caused people to isolate into family groups, and then they spread out 100 years after the flood. So the population didn't spread out until 100 years after the flood. So when they got to the edges of Africa here, they couldn't cross over into South America from here. So the animals had 100 years to get to South America. So you have the jaguar, which is the same thing as a leopard in South America. You have the greater grison in South America, which is the same thing as the honey badger. And of course, you have all the unique South American animals. And of course, you have the unique Madagascar animals, because that broke apart as well in India, because it was connected somehow to India or close to India, and Australia was connected to South America and Africa. Of course, South America was connected to Africa, and Australia was in here, and India was in here, and they all broke apart, spread out. They talk about India moving a long ways. It didn't move all. It was in this general area here. It didn't really move that far, not as far as Australia, because Australia was over here. So Australia actually moved farther than India, which crashed into the Asian continent and pushed up the Alps, or whatever it is. I mean, not the Alps, the Mount Everest, the Himalayas. So when the people got here, South America had already separated. So in order for people to get to South America, they had to go this way, which is exactly what one of the sons of Ham did, and arrived. And he arrived here. See this color, pink color, whatever it is. Arrived in the Americas, and even arrived in the other map. It shows they arrived in the northern tip of South America. But other than that, that's the only way the people could get to South America, was this way and not this way. So there's no E's. These are E's. See this E? These Y chromosomes did not make it to South America. What's this here? This is this a Q? What is this? This color here. No, this is A. Yeah, this is A. So it's A, B, and E is the only Hamites represented in Africa. The rest went this way, which is two other sons. It would be the Mongolians, the C, which made it all the way to the Americas, and the D, which is this funny looking yellow here, and this funny looking yellow here in Japan and Tibet. That made it here. DNA doesn't lie. These are descendants of Ham. This is a descendant of Ham. This is a descendant of Ham. These are descendants of Ham. This is a descendant of Japheth. This odd color here, this red, is a our color. Is this descendant of Japheth. He's an immigrant into Africa. So, and of course, this dark color red here, which is not red, it's more like a brown, is this really the same thing as this red up here, which is Japhethite. Even though the autosomal DNA would be different, the autosomal DNA would reflect the color of the people in the area. Same as this here. People are influenced by the autosomal. Same with this. People are influenced by the autosomal. Same with the Americas. So whatever, that's the way a lot of indigenous American people are semi-oriental looking or oriental because they were influenced by the autosomal DNA when going this way. Of course, they're Japhethites anyway. With the exception that they got to do better testing because there are big nose American Indians, which is Navajo, and the Peruvians got big nose, and there's Amazonian Indians with big nose too, alongside of the other Amazon Indians, which are the Oriental type Indians. And there's a possibility that some of the HD or the mtDNA made it this way to the Americas as well. That's another story. We'd have to go back. To the other charts. So anyway, it's more or less a little study on DNA. In case anybody's interested. Oh, Wildheart's here. Sorry about that. Wildheart visited. And it is now something like 6:46 on the east coast of the United States. So I guess people are getting up now. And I'll be going to sleep in a few hours. So, anyways, DNA doesn't lie. DNA is very interesting. Oh, here's the mtDNA chart I was looking for. It's very confusing. They got to straighten out these DNA because it's very confusing. You got the same letters in the mtDNA as the Y chromosomal DNA, and it confuses everything. You got the K over here, which is not the same thing as a K Y chromosome because this is mtDNA. This K is what the Jewish population consists of, which is Semitic. Right. Because the Hamite population of the mtDNA population is the L1, L2, and L3. M's, everything after M up to Q is Japhethite. and you can see them represented up in here, this area over here. And N, everything after N is Semitic. So it'd be the N, the I. Of course, the I is not the same thing as an IY chromosome. And the, oh, did I forget already? I'm the H. Yeah, I'm the H, not the M. I'm the H, and that's Semitic. And the K is Semitic. The H is Semitic. And the J, I think there's a J. Is there a J? Wow, this is so confusing, so hard to keep track of. This is the Y chromosome. This is the Y chromosome, which is a good chart, detailed chart. Okay. Anyway, I confused myself. But anyways, the N, this is all Semitic. This would be the mtDNA, it'd be N, and you can see it in other charts as well. Here, this shows it. What we're really looking at is the L1, L2, and L3. Then you got the M's over here. All this is M, which is Japhethite, and all this is N, which is Semitic. And the Jewish population is the J, the K, the H, and the N1 out of all the Semitic mtDNAs, which is under N. So the letters would go like this. It would be L, M, N. And then these letters are subdivisions under M. These letters are subdivisions under N. That's the way it works. They're supposed to work, but it's really very confusing, especially when you put it next to the Y chromosome DNA. Should be completely different so you can tell the difference between what's Y, what's mitochondrial. But I guess they haven't gone that far yet. But if they want people to understand more about the populations, then they should do that. Here it shows the L1, 2, and 3 in this area exclusively. And that is if there's nothing else here. I guess it's true there's nothing else anywhere else. Then there's the M, which was the Japhethite, and the N is the Semitic. Remember, the Semitics influenced the Japhethites that went north. So the Europe is a mixture of Semitic and Japhethite, and then these are mostly Japhethites in this direction here. So that's the way that works, because it's M, C, M, M, M. These are all Japhethites. And the N's are Semitics. Semitic. So that's the way that works, apparently. Well, yeah, it doesn't lie. DNA doesn't lie. And here it's kind of showing the K, the H, the N1B, and the J1, just 7%. It's talking about the three mitochondrial ancestors of the Israelites, basically. So, oh, here we got more peoples. Yeah, Wild Heart's still here. We got Fyodor. He's here. He's I was talking about. I don't want to embarrass you. He's got the same personality type as I do. The what is it? INJF something or other. I can't even remember. But Wild Heart, yeah. Cat Earth Comet, got you. It might be Scrabble. Okay, Epstein had a custom-made chessboard, and each piece represented and was modeled after people he knew IRL, right down to his gardener. He was pretty smart, I reckon. Yeah. Getting office in Harvard without having completed a degree is impressive. Yeah, it's a INFJ is the personality type. I noticed Doc said hello to me after I left the the personality stream. That was super nice of him. Yeah, Doc is a nice person. I mean, he seems to be a nice person. He makes medicine, I guess. Doc Savage. No, not Doc Savage. What's his name? It's Doc. Yeah, Doc Savage. Yeah, yeah. He apparently makes medicine, and so I went on. I was ranting about medicines, and he came on and said my medicines are expensive to make. They take a lot of work. And so I said, "Oh, okay. Maybe we can be more competitive, maybe in making medicines." Anyway, but he's all right. It's not the worst there ever was, I guess. But he's not a creationist yet, as far as I know. Wild Heart's not a creationist yet, as far as I know. Does anybody want to have a discussion? Probably not. In case somebody does, where's my? Oh, maybe I should stop streaming. What is this? The invite. Okay. Not that anybody wants to participate, but there's the invite link. If somebody else wants to join, somebody wants to join. So, yeah, I guess everybody's showing up. I mean, not everybody. People are showing up now, and I'm just about finished with my DNA study, the mitochondrial DNA and the Y chromosomal DNA. No, he's not a creationist. He'd be a dentist then, LOL. A dentist? I don't know, but he says he makes medicine. It's Doc Savage, anyways. Well, yeah, I'm just hoping that the atheists will at least understand us creationists more, our position and where we're coming from, and hoping that it makes more sense than it did before. You know where we're coming because we actually have a basis for what we believe, and doesn't seem to me like atheism has a position. Skepticism doesn't have a position. Naturalism is a position, but it's a position of idolatry, basically. So, you know, that would seem to indicate to me that we're right and everybody else is wrong. I mean, But anyway, because nature can't make itself and it can't make living organisms, you know, we have to give the credit to the creator, not to the creature. We don't glorify the creature instead of the creator because we know that energy has to come from a greater energy. Every everything in the world is made of energy, and so energy comes from a greater energy. Life comes from life or some facsimile. So life would have to come from a greater life form. So did I skip somebody? Oh. See, so what better? Yeah, the better is to give the credit to the creator instead of to the creation. No position or the wrong position. Well, yeah, you would like to have no position, but you have a position of naturalism, which is basically giving credit to matter, basically. So I think most people have hopes and fears. It's a very peculiar situation us life forms find ourselves in. Yeah, we have hopes and fears. Yeah, and I was raised with the truth, which I believe is the truth, and I'm happy to remain in the truth. I have no reason to leave what the Bible teaches. About an infinite potential, infinite regress of an infinite power who is all knowing, all powerful, and eternal, not limited by limited time and space, which is a fabrication, the result of the creation of matter, which causes gravity, which dilates time and distance. So that's what the evidence seems to be to me. I live in a probabilistic world. Nothing is certain. Well, you can't be too uncertain about things because then you can't tell me anything. You can't take a position. Take care, all the best. Till next time. Likewise, my fellow INFJ, which apparently there's not a whole lot of people like that. So, accept death and taxes. Okay. Laters, Fyodor. Take care. So yeah, I came from the Amazon, but I see no reason to change what I learned ever since I was a child on the mission field, learning from missionaries, missionary teachers and preachers and such. I haven't seen a reason to change my belief. I mean, I changed a couple little different things, as far as from what I was taught, but I haven't changed that much. I still believe in God. Just a little few points of doctrine that aren't exactly correct as I see it, but because I was raised in different churches all over the place and I listened to a lot of different teachers from different places. So I have formed an opinion of some kind that seems convincing to me. Anyway, so I guess I'm all talked out about the DNA. I just went over and over it again, a whole bunch. So I don't really want to go over it again that much. But it is interesting. This this live stream is titled mtDNA study, but I threw in some Y DNA too because it's really confusing. Of all the religions and denominations of Christians, what are the odds that you were taught the right one? Yeah, the odds aren't that great, but I don't really hold to a denomination. I'm not. I don't consider myself. This is one of the changes that I made, that I don't consider myself a denomination. I believe what the Bible says. I don't consider myself Protestant. I don't consider myself Baptist. I consider myself a Christian, belonging to the teaching of the apostles and the way, if you know what that is, and basically hold to the teaching of the early Christians after the resurrection, which is, not all that different. And the differences between Christians aren't really that great. I mean, we all basically came away from the Catholic Church, but I don't consider myself a Protestant just because I came away from. Well, I was always away from it anyway, but originally people came away from the Catholic Church, or they were already away from the Catholic Church, such as the Anabaptists. I think the Anabaptists are the only ones, and maybe the Coptic Christians in the other side of the world, basically, or the Anabaptists were the only ones in the Western Hemisphere that did not belong to either the Protestants or the Catholic Church, because there is a history of Christians in England since the time of Jesus. So the Christians were there in England since the time of Jesus. Okay, thank you, Wild Heart. Good video. Later. Take care. Okay. Likewise. So yeah, of course I've been through this before. Is that Joseph of Arimathea went to England, settled in England along with his daughter Anna of Arimathea, who also probably took some artifacts to England, one of which might have been the Holy Grail, what they fuss about and stuff like that. The other is the genetic line to King Solomon, which they also claim in England, and that's how they got it probably. But it doesn't go through a male descendant, it goes through Anna of Arimathea. But they still claim to have a legitimate monarchy from King Solomon through Anna of Arimathea, which is the only way they could possibly have it, as far as I know. Anyway, that's about it. So I'll go ahead and end the broadcast. Take care, everyone.